Hey everyone, and welcome back. I have been investing about $2,000 a month for the past 4 years, and I have managed to build an investment portfolio worth over $300,000. I wanted to make this video to tell you exactly how I did it, and perhaps more importantly, why this channel is all about building financial freedom. And I want to be as transparent as possible because I know firsthand how frustrating it can be when people talk about money, but they never really tell you the full story of how they got there. I will tell you right now, I did not grow up with a silver spoon. I wish I did. That would have been pretty awesome, but I also did not grow up in poverty. I was pretty much smack dab in the middle class. That is my background and my perspective on all of this. And honestly, I am still carrying about $20,000 in student loan debt from college. Everyone loves to say just invest or just save more, but nobody ever explains what that actually looks like. When you are trying to balance rent bills, taxes, student loans, and still trying to maintain some semblance of a social life outside of work. I am going to give you advice that you should of course research further yourself, but I want you to see how you can apply these principles to your own life and your unique situation. I truly hope this video gives you either motivation, a new perspective, or at the very least, a realistic example of what is possible if you start taking your personal finances seriously early on in your 20s. I genuinely believe we are facing a financial literacy crisis, especially for young professionals. Most people graduate knowing how to do their jobs, but they have absolutely no clue how to manage the money that comes with that job. Nobody in high school or college teaches you how to build wealth. Nobody teaches you how retirement accounts work or how compounding interest truly works. You get the point. I am sure that is another big purpose of this channel, to make money feel less complicated and to show that financial freedom is not some far-off unattainable dream, but actually something achievable if you have the patience and the discipline to let it all work out. It is built through boring, consistent investments, good habits, and making smart decisions over decades of time. So with all that said, I am going to walk you through the real numbers and show you exactly what investing $2,000 a month can get you. As I mentioned, I have been investing about $2,000 a month for the past 4 years. Honestly, the only reason I have been able to do that at 27 years old is because I made a plan early on in my life to pursue a higher paying engineering career and then use that income wisely. I want to be upfront here to invest $2,000 a month like I am doing. You do need a high paying salary. I do not want to discourage anyone from investing because investing $50 a month is always better than investing $0 a month. But the only way I was able to achieve these numbers and build a $300,000 investment portfolio at the age of 27, let us say compared to hitting that milestone perhaps in my 30s, is because I had a higher salary to work with. I work in engineering in the oil and gas industry. While the job can be stressful at times and quite demanding, I realized pretty quickly that having a high income in your 20s gives you a massive opportunity. As long as you do not waste it trying to look rich or by embracing an unnecessarily expensive lifestyle. A lot of people get a bigger paycheck and slowly trap themselves into needing that high income forever just to maintain their new lifestyle. But I wanted to use this job that I have now as a tool instead. I wanted to take the money from an engineering career that I like. Now, and perhaps one that I do not necessarily want to do forever, and I wanted to funnel all that high salary into investments that could eventually buy back my time and give me true financial freedom. Now, some of you might have watched my last video where I said that making $135,000 a year honestly did not change my life in the way I thought it would, and I was not saying that $135,000 is bad money. Objectively, it is a great income, and I am extremely grateful for it, especially at my age of 27. But what I did say is that many of us grew up with this picture in our heads that once you hit six figures, you have basically made it. As a kid, I saw six figures, and I automatically assumed that would buy you a nice house, support a family on one income, allow you to have a stay at home spouse if you wanted, stack money on the side, take vacations, and eventually retire comfortably. I truly thought six figures was the American dream, but the reality in 2026 is completely different than it was for our parents and our grandparents. And a lot of young people are starting to realize that this might be a hot take, so let me know down in the comments what you think about this. But I really do believe the traditional version of the American dream is mostly dead for the average American, especially in bigger cities. The idea that one income can comfortably support an entire household, that one income can buy you a nice home, build wealth, and still leave you with financial breathing room is just getting harder and harder for most people. Even those making above average incomes, housing prices have exploded, interest rates are high, and groceries are expensive. Everything just costs so much more. And at the same time, people are trying to compare themselves to lifestyles that were realistic 30 years ago under completely different economic conditions. So even with a six-figure salary, now, it honestly feels like you have to choose between aggressive investing for your future, which is the route I chose, and that is how I started doing $2,000 a month and built up a $300,000 portfolio. Or you can stretch yourself thin trying to buy a house and maintain the image of living the traditional American dream. Honestly, location matters too, because making six figures in a small town is completely different than making six figures in a big city somewhere else. But I think a lot of people in major cities know exactly what I am talking about. This sounds crazy to say out loud, but I truly think becoming a millionaire through investing is more realistic today than trying to recreate the old American dream lifestyle where the family buys a big house. The man of the household supports the entire family off one income, and you can stay loyal to a company for 40 years and have a comfortable retirement. The rules have changed now, whether people want to admit it or not. So instead of being bitter about it, I would rather adapt to the world that we live in and use my high income strategically to invest while I am in my 20s. The reason I prioritized investing $2,000 a month in my 20s is because I realized early on that time is the biggest advantage that I have working for me right now, and I did not want to waste that advantage. When you are young, there is a huge temptation to immediately inflate your lifestyle because you finally can, once you are living on your own and getting that first paycheck. You can finance that brand new truck. You can move into that luxury solo apartment. You can even buy designer clothes, all that stuff on the outside looking in. And on social media, it would look like you are winning. But I keep thinking about how dangerous it is when your expenses rise as fast as your income, because then no matter how much money you make, you can still end up trapped needing every paycheck if you do not keep your expenses in check. And that scared me mostly in my 20s, and it still does to this day. I looked around at older people who made great money for years but still seemed financially stressed, still tied to a job they might not necessarily like, all because they did not create that crucial difference between their income and their lifestyle. After that, I really realized that income alone does not create financial freedom. What truly creates financial freedom is a combination of income, investing, and living below your means. So instead of trying to look rich now, I have decided I would rather build wealth quietly in the background while nobody is paying attention. And investing $2,000 a month in your 20s is not really about getting rich overnight. It is about putting yourself in a completely different financial position 10, 15, or 20 years from now. Every dollar that I invest today is buying more future freedom for me, more flexibility for me down the road, and more peace of mind. It is buying me the ability to not have to work 40 or weeks forever, maybe not panic even if I lost my job, and maybe not stay stuck in a career purely because the paycheck is good. Once I truly understood compound interest and saw how powerful consistency becomes over time, it completely changed the way I viewed money. I stopped looking at money as something to immediately spend and started looking at it like a tool that I could use. Because if I can build a portfolio large enough while I am still young, eventually the investments are going to start compounding more than I am making on my paychecks, and that is going to be an awesome feeling. And when I say I have been investing about $2,000 a month, I also want to be transparent with you guys about what that actually looks like, because it is not like I am just throwing $2,000 a month into random stocks trying to get rich quick. Most of my investment success has come from investing in the most powerful accounts and automating everything so I could stay consistent. I have been maxing out my 401k, investing into my HSA, consistently putting money into my brokerage account, and more recently, I started maxing out my Roth IRA too, which is why I am always kicking myself for not starting that account earlier. And the reason I structured it like that is because I wanted a balance between tax advantages. Now, tax-free growth later, and still having some flexibility with a regular brokerage account that I can access before retirement age if I ever need to or want to retire early and live off that portfolio. It is kind of a balance, but you have to figure out what works for you and your specific goals. I am also not doing anything super complicated with my investing strategy either, because I genuinely think a lot of people will overcomplicate this stuff trying to beat the market, trying to beat the SP 500, and trying to chase that next hot stock. My portfolio is honestly really simple. I mainly invest in a 3 ETF split between VO South Carolina HG and SHD because I wanted to mix broad market exposure, more aggressive growth through tech and higher growth potential companies, and dividend-paying companies that produce cash flow that I can reinvest. So in my mind, it is a balance between growth now and future dividend income later, and obviously there are a million different ways you could build your own portfolio. I am not a financial advisor, and I am not saying this is the perfect strategy, but for me, the biggest priority was building something simple enough that I can consistently stick to long term without constantly stressing about the market swings. Every single day, I truly think consistency and time in the market matter way more than trying to be the smartest investor in the room. Now, eventually, you do want to get your percentages as high as possible because the difference in 1, 2, or 3% gains on your returns on your investment portfolio over decades means a lot. But most people would be much better off investing in the SP 500 than flip-flopping between individual stocks. It just takes so much of the stress out of investing and allows you to focus on the discipline and increasing your income. Other skills that are also important in your 20s. When I look at my long-term plans with investing, I honestly view my 20s as building the correct financial foundation of my life, and that is why I have been investing so much right now. I am in a position where I can work a high-paying engineering job, live relatively below my means, and consistently invest about $2,000 a month. And I do not want to waste that situation that I am in because I know how fortunate I am right now The money I invest at 27 has decades to grow, and that is why I am willing to sacrifice a little bit more. Now, while I am younger, and I am not saying that everyone needs to invest this aggressively because everyone is in a different situation, I would always recommend getting an emergency fund built up first and any high-interest debt paid off before you even start investing. But for me personally, I know I would deeply regret wasting these years if I spent all my income trying to flash my money and just look successful. I do not necessarily plan on investing at this pace forever. Either I think a lot of people hear financial content online and assume the goal is to live extremely frugal for the next 40 years, never spend any money, and just obsess over net worth numbers. But that is not how I look at it at all. My plan is to use my 20s to build as much momentum as possible because mathematically, this is when investing has the biggest impact because you have the most time. And then once I get into my 30s, I will probably start easing off the gas a little bit and shifting priorities towards other financial goals too. I do eventually want a house. I do eventually want more balance in my life. I want the ability to travel more, maybe slow down professionally at some point, start a family one day. But I think investing early is what gives me the ability to do these things later without feeling financially stressed and trapped. That is really the whole point behind this investing $2,000 a month strategy. I am basically trying to front load as much of the investing as I can while my income is high and my expenses are low so that future me has tons of options and flexibility. Even though engineering has been great to me financially, I also know I probably do not want to work in engineering forever. And I definitely do not want to feel trapped to one job just because my expenses are too high or because I never built assets outside of my main income. I think that is the biggest lesson I have learned through this whole process so far. High income by itself does not automatically create that financial freedom that we have been told about as kids. What you actually do with that income is what truly matters. You can make six figures and still be financially stuck, or you can use those high-earning years strategically to completely change your future. I am choosing the investing route. And while I feel like the traditional American dream is not quite there for me yet, I believe it will be in the future. It may not change things right away, but that is why you need a delayed gratification mindset. So my mindset right now is very simple. I am going to keep investing consistently throughout my 20s. I am 27 now, so I have 3 more years to go until I hit 30. I am going to keep building assets outside of my 9-to-5 income. I am going to keep learning and developing my skills, and I am going to keep trying to constantly increase my income wherever I can, and I am going to trust that process over the next 10 to 15 years. And all of those small, smart, consistent decisions are eventually going to win for me in the long run. So that is all I had for this video. Leave a comment down below with how much you are investing each month, and I would love to hear your financial goals and the current situation that you are in. Thank you for those who are consistently supporting this channel and helping it grow. This community that we are building here is amazing, and I am truly thankful for each and every one of you. As always, I will see you all in the next one.